Hello, traders. Because of income to you from theclosingprint.com, October 12th, 2025. In this edition of your weekend video newsletter, we'll discuss the sudden drop in the markets last week, highlighted by some China-U.S. disagreements, leaving us with one bullish indicator, 5 neutral, and 14 bearish. With most of our indicators oversold, they do set up a potential bounce in the short term. As previously mentioned, with so many indicators oversold, we do have the S&P 500 dropping below the 50-day moving average. In addition, the majority of stocks on the S&P have dropped below, more than 70% below their 20-day moving average. This is starting to set up a potential bounce, with many of these indicators giving us the same impression. The Dow Composite, 65 stocks. The ARCA Institutional Index, the 75 stocks most commonly held in the institutions' core portfolios. We see a sudden drop in many of these stocks on Friday. Looking for a test of the 50-day moving average on this particular chart. Bitcoin as well dropped substantially on Friday and bounced at the 200-day moving average, currently trying to negotiate this 112,000 level on Sunday morning. The New York FANG components were in a consolidation, still could see a potential bounce at the 50-day moving average as indicators are starting to get oversold. So we'll be watching for these 10 stocks to give us any indication that we might bounce early on Monday. Along with the New York Stock Exchange turning to more selling, not too far off of a capitulation level. With earnings starting this week, the New York Stock Exchange, new highs minus new lows, dipping down below the zero line for the first time in over 2 weeks. Advanced decline rolling over with the selling pressure that we saw on Friday, with the index also breaking some short-term support at 21,300. We look to direction on Monday to give us an idea of what we could experience this week. We do have hedges, so that is protecting some of the downside, while there is some short-term support in positive gamma right around 6,600 as shown on this particular chart from spot gamma. Bottom line, oversold can get more oversold, so we'll be watching for Sunday night futures and Monday morning for direction as we start this October OPEX week on Monday. Junk bonds, one of our indicators we always watch for, in this particular case, tests of the 50-day moving average, or on Wednesday, a loss of the 50-day, giving us an indication that we should start to reduce risk and look for hedging as protection. That said, junk bonds are very near the 200-day moving average. With everything else oversold, there's a very good possibility we spike down on Monday and reverse. That's purely a guess because we won't know until we see Sunday futures open to confirm any continuation or a reversal to start the week. The 10-year yield did move lower in response, while the U.S. dollar started a new bullish trend in the middle of September. We're coming up against resistance at the 100 level in the short term. Brent crude and gasoline also moved lower last week, which is creating an interesting dynamic. It does help the consumer, especially those people who don't watch the stock market or are invested at all. Brent crude moving lower is helping with family expenditures as we continue to move lower, with gasoline spot prices producing new lows. Most sectors have dropped below their 20-day moving average. They were extended for the most part. Few have stayed above their bullish 20 EMA and 50-day, namely biotechs, which is kind of odd. That is a risky asset class, as well as utilities and healthcare. The consumer discretionary consumer staples ratio is starting to peak, so that's something we'll be watching for in the short term, as consumer discretionary and retail both lose their 20 and 50-day moving averages on Friday. Overall, sectors are telling us to be cautious to start the week. With one bullish indicator, 5 neutral, and 14 bearish, there are fewer stocks in the IBD 50 list that look interesting and potentially have relative strength enough to follow through if we do get a bounce on the S&P. In addition, gold miners are at highs. These might be an area to look at as well. And stocks that are showing significant strength, the Scooter stock chart's technical rank, stocks in orange that may follow through as well. Some of these were trading recently, like IREN, MP Materials, and Oklo. So look for those stocks to show some strength on Monday. Overall, many of these stocks from the IBD 50 are oversold, as we can see, with strength in Argenix hanging out above its bullish 20 and 50-day moving averages. Stochastic RSI is showing muscle. Arista Networks also holding at highs, but did pull back a little bit on Friday, still above its bullish 20 and 50-day moving averages. CCJ, Cameco, along with some of the rare earths and material stocks, uranium as well, holding above its bullish 20 EMA. That may follow through this week. CleanSpark held up fairly well. Friday we had a bearish engulfing candle, so we'll see if this leads to some consolidation in the short term. Some of you may have taken this from previous watch lists or the breakout above 10 back in September. Again, core mining, a lot of the gold stocks continue to show strength, bullish 9 and 21-day moving averages. Harmony Gold, Gold Fields, Hems and Hers, many are looking for this consolidation to result in a breakout or a breakdown. So we're watching for this previous watch list stock to do something in the short term. Kinross Gold, right at its 20-day moving average, oversold stochastic RSI, giving us indication that we could see a bounce in the short term. Many of the pharmaceutical stocks are holding up fairly well. Semis did pull back, like Micron and NVIDIA, back to the 20-day support. Palantir back to the 50-day support. We're looking for bounces or resumption of the Friday trend that was quite bearish, to say the least. Riot and many of the Bitcoin-related names could bounce. Bitcoin currently is trading at 113,250. I did start a new position, planning to add to it going into this week if this bounce results in a follow-through with Bitcoin just above its 200-day moving average. Robinhood did pull back. Rocket Labs pulled back. Most of these are in bullish trends, though. Aside from the negotiations that need to occur between the U.S. and China, there is a good possibility we'll see a bounce in the short term. So we're looking for opportunities. It doesn't mean we're going to go out and start buying on Monday morning unless we see a good reason. Tarsus Pharmaceuticals looking pretty strong. Last week breaking out above 60 with stochastic RSI showing muscle. Tempest AI, still bullish trend, looking very strong. 20-day, 50-day up and to the right. A couple of days of consolidation right near 100. Perhaps setting up some potential Zscaler also nice trend, looking for a follow through. Some of the stocks that followed through last week before the sell button was hit on Friday: Space Mobile, ASTS. I know Frano and a few of you may have traded this late last week. Volume looks really good, looking for a follow through and a consolidation at highs in the short term, as many of these space related companies are seeing a lot of activity. Here's Virgin Galactic. In addition, CoreWeave has been basing, building the right side of this cup pattern. Most likely we'll see higher prices as AI isn't going anywhere, despite the pundits that we're hearing on CNBC, Bloomberg, and Yahoo Finance. Companies are spending lots of money on infrastructure, building out the AI capabilities to put the U.S. in first place. Look for CoreWeave to continue to move higher, along with its recent partner, Applied Digital. Ionis Pharmaceuticals been in a nice bullish trend since the beginning of September. RSI showing muscle, very little movement on Friday, showing relative strength. Oklo also held up with relative strength despite the market meltdown on Friday. Okay, traders, that's going to do it for me. This is Cousin Vinny coming to you from theclosingprint.com with your weekend video newsletter for October 12th, 2025. Let's look for early indications of some sort of reversal, if that's going to be the case, or a resumption of the trend that started on Friday before putting money to work this week. We'll send out a watch list later tonight around 12 midnight on the East Coast, around 9 o'clock on the West Coast. So be sure to check your inbox for that later this evening, early tomorrow. Otherwise, watch these stocks below. These few could see some follow through this week. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Take care, and we'll see you in the morning. Ciao.